Insidious. Adjective. Harmful in a way that spreads gradually and is hard to notice at first. The insidious leak behind the pantry wall warped the floorboards for months before anyone traced the musty smell to a cracked pipe above the wiring. Elucidate. Verb. To explain something clearly so it becomes easier to understand. During the budget hearing, the treasurer elucidated how the maintenance fund interacted with reserves, using plain charts until even the skeptical homeowners nodded. Parsimony. Noun. Extreme unwillingness to spend money or use resources. His parsimony showed up in frayed chair arms and a heating schedule that left the reading room cold until donors finally insisted on repairs. Repudiate. Verb. To reject something as untrue, unjust, or no longer binding. The committee moved to repudiate the earlier memo, posting a corrected policy that named who could approve overtime and how requests would be logged. Sanguine. Adjective. Hopeful and confident that things will turn out well. She remained sanguine about the harvest despite hail in June, pointing to deep roots and the orchard's history of bouncing back after rough seasons. Duplicity. Noun. Dishonest behavior that hides the truth by saying one thing and doing another. Once the emails surfaced, the duplicity of praising safety in public while cutting night inspections became impossible to excuse. Obfuscate. Verb. To make something unclear on purpose, often to avoid accountability. Instead of answering, the spokesperson obfuscated with jargon about frameworks, and reporters pressed until he admitted the rollout date had slipped. Mendacious. Adjective. Dishonest in a way that involves telling lies. The article painted a mendacious portrait of the clinic, cherry-picking incidents and omitting the patient satisfaction surveys that told a different story. Trenchant. Adjective. Forceful, clear, and effective in a way that cuts through confusion. Her trenchant closing argument tied each piece of evidence to a single timeline, leaving the jury with a story that felt both simple and complete. Laconic. Adjective. Using very few words, often in a way that feels blunt or cool. When asked what went wrong, his laconic answer blamed black ice on the approach. Then silence fell across the bridge table as everyone replayed the last hand. Egalitarian. Adjective. Based on the belief that people deserve equal rights and opportunities. The co-op adopted an egalitarian rule for chores, rotating the least popular tasks so resentment did not pool around the same few members. Obsequious. Adjective. Eager to obey or please someone in a way that feels excessive and insincere. The obsequious waiter hovered after every bite, praising choices they had not tasted, until the couple asked for a quieter corner table. Panacea. Noun. A remedy claimed to solve every problem, often unrealistically. Treating the new software like a panacea, the district rushed adoption without training, and teachers soon traded one kind of chaos for another. Extol. Verb. To praise something enthusiastically and often publicly. Local papers extolled the bakery's rye as the best in the county, and weekend visitors lined up while steam fogged the windows before dawn. Vacillate. Verb. To keep changing your mind or position instead of deciding firmly. She vacillated between two paint colors for weeks, taping swatches to the door at different hours until the lights settled the argument on its own. Propensity. Noun. A natural tendency to behave in a particular way. His propensity for arriving early turned the kitchen into a quiet ritual of grinding beans and setting out mugs before the rest of the household stirred. Modicum. Noun. A small amount of something, often just enough to matter. A modicum of salt transformed the tomatoes, sharpening their sweetness until the simple salad tasted like something served on a white tablecloth. Denigrate. Verb. To criticize someone or something unfairly. To belittle. It became a habit to denigrate the rival team's luck, but the coach reminded players that disrespect made them sloppy and blind to real weaknesses. Ebullient. Adjective. Full of cheerful energy and enthusiasm. The ebullient conductor bounced on the podium, coaxing a shy community orchestra into a finale that rattled the folding chairs and brought the hall to its feet. Ignominious. Adjective. Deserving or causing public shame or disgrace. The team suffered an ignominious defeat when the star pitcher walked 3 batters in a row and the winning run strolled home without a swing. Perfunctory. Adjective. Done with minimum effort or interest as a routine duty. He gave a perfunctory nod at the safety briefing, eyes on his phone, and later missed the step that would have prevented the spill. Expedite. Verb. To make an action or process happen sooner or with less delay. To expedite the passport renewal, she paid for overnight shipping, triple-checked the photo rules, and uploaded documents before the office opened. Corroborate. Verb. To confirm or support a statement or theory with additional evidence. Witnesses who did not know each other corroborated the same detail about the truck's mud flaps, and the investigator finally had a solid lead. Disparate. Adjective. So different in kind that they are hard to compare or unite. The committee blended disparate traditions into one festival, pairing brass bands with quiet tea ceremonies and hoping the schedule would not feel like 2 unrelated events. Harangue. Noun. A long, forceful speech that scolds or lectures people. The coach's halftime harangue echoed in the locker room, listing missed tackles in brutal detail until even the bench players stared at their laces. Impasse. Noun. A situation where no progress can be made because disagreement is stuck. Negotiations hit an impasse over scheduling, with neither side willing to trade evening slots, and mediators proposed a rotating calendar. Mettle. Noun. Courage and determination shown in a difficult situation. The climb tested their mettle when the fog closed in, but they kept moving with measured breaths and a rope rhythm they had practiced on lower cliffs. Paucity. Noun. An amount that is smaller than needed, scarcity. The paucity of bilingual staff meant callers waited longer during emergencies, and the city began funding certification courses with clearer urgency. Culminate. Verb. To reach a final or decisive point, often after a long process. Years of small grants and volunteer weekends culminated in a community garden with raised beds, a tool shed, and a chalkboard for sharing surplus produce. Conflate. Verb. To combine 2 different ideas or facts as if they were the same. It is easy to conflate confidence with accuracy, assuming louder voices must know more, when careful listeners often track nuance the crowd misses. Inundate. Verb. To overwhelm someone with a great amount of something. After the story aired, the shop was inundated with orders, and the owner hired 2 neighbors to help pack jars until midnight, 3 nights in a row. Scathing. Adjective. Criticizing someone or something very harshly. The review was scathing about the film's pacing, comparing the second act to waiting for a late train in an empty station with broken departure boards. Redress. Verb. To correct something wrong or unfair, often by making amends. The museum moved to redress decades of exclusion by commissioning new exhibits and hiring curators from the communities whose stories had been sidelined. Restive. Adjective. Restless and impatient, especially under restraint or delay. Passengers grew restive when the plane sat on the tarmac, babies wailing and phones pinging until the captain explained the thunderheads over the field. Placid. Adjective. Calm and peaceful, with little movement or excitement. The lake looked placid at dawn, mist hugging the reeds while a lone rower cut a slow line that rippled outward and vanished. Misanthrope. Noun. A person who dislikes human company and tends to distrust people's motives. Labeled a misanthrope after he moved to the cabin, he still waved at hikers and left firewood by the trailhead when snow was forecast. Nascent. Adjective. Just beginning to develop and not yet fully formed. The nascent neighborhood association met in a borrowed classroom, passing a hat for flyers and arguing politely about whether potlucks counted as outreach. Onerous. Adjective. Needing great effort, burdensome. The permit process was onerous enough that small builders gave up, leaving the historic district to larger firms that could afford months of paperwork and hearings. Pejorative. Adjective. Expressing disapproval or criticism. Calling the plan pejorative names did not change its numbers, and the mayor asked critics to attack the assumptions instead of the staff who ran the models. Ponderous. Adjective. Slow and heavy, often in a way that feels awkward. The ponderous old door groaned on its hinges, and each time it closed the draft carried the smell of rain and wet wool from the vestibule. Prescient. Adjective. Having good judgment about what will happen in the future. Her prescient decision to stock generators looked dramatic in August, but when the ice storm arrived in February, neighbors traded extension cords for soup. Profligate. Adjective. Recklessly wasteful, especially with money or resources. The profligate spending on branded swag annoyed board members who wanted funds directed toward scholarships instead of glossy tote bags. Quell. Verb. To put an end to something, especially by using force or firm action. Volunteers handed out water and blankets to quell the panic after the lights failed, speaking in calm voices until the backup generator finally coughed to life. Recalcitrant. Adjective. Difficult to manage or unwilling to obey rules or guidance. The recalcitrant vine ignored trellis and twine, reaching instead for the gutter until someone finally pruned it with gloves and a patient saw. Spurious. Adjective. False or fake, though presented as genuine. The article relied on spurious statistics copied from an outdated blog, and readers who checked the sources found mismatched years and missing sample sizes. Tacit. Adjective. Understood without being stated directly. Their tacit agreement was never written down, but every Friday he walked her dog when she worked late and she watered his tomatoes when he visited his mother. Unequivocal. Adjective. Leaving no doubt, completely clear. The lab issued an unequivocal warning about the water source, and within hours the town posted signs and opened distribution points for sealed bottles. Mollify. Verb. To calm someone who is angry or upset. She tried to mollify the neighbor by offering to pay for the broken fence panel and bringing over a pie still warm from the oven. Exonerate. Verb. To declare officially that someone is not guilty or not responsible for blame. Fresh physical evidence helped exonerate the man who had spent years under suspicion, and the courthouse steps filled with reporters and relieved relatives. That's everything for this session. If this helped you, subscribe for more. See you next time.